Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spotlights with Sarah. And I would call this another episode, but this is kind of a special edition of SWS. And in honor of CTE Month, we are talking all about advocacy. So I am joined by so many amazing, great DECA leaders and members that are here to basically do a conversation call about what DECA means to them and how they are celebrating CTE Month. So with that, I think I'm going to be able to share my screen. And yeah, okay, perfect. So I think we can just get right into it unless there's anything else that you guys want to share before we get started. Perfect. Okay, so the first prompt is, why is CTE advocacy important to you, and or what does CTE advocacy mean to you? We'll just go ahead and get started with whoever raises their hand first, and then you guys can popcorn it off to each other. Alex, you want to start off?
Hello, everyone. Also, my stepdad totally just started his Camaro, so I apologize if you all hear that in the background. But I mean, what does CTE advocacy mean? I mean, we all can relate to this in some way or another, but I know it's cliche, but it means the absolute world because it defines our entire lives. It defines our education. It defines the CTSOs we're all a part of. It defines our curriculum. It defines how career and college ready we all are. And even though that's the very encircling answer that all of us can relate to, it's the truth because it totally encapsulates every bit of our lives, and we have to advocate for it because we are the people, we are the students, a part of these programs. We're the ones taking these classes, and it's so important to advocate for CTE as it has impacted us in so many ways. And it just means the absolute world. And it's so important for us to advocate for it because it defines so many portions of our lives, especially with DECA. I mean, without CTE, we wouldn't have DECA in our lives. Without CTSOs, we wouldn't have DECA in our lives. And it's because people advocated for these programs and for these organizations that's why they're here. So we need to keep doing that because of how important they are to us. But yeah, that's how I'd answer it. And I can popcorn, right? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I will popcorn it off to Miss Sarah Hancock, the new Alabama DECA state president, by the way. Congrats.
Thank you. So, sorry, it's okay. So I would have to say that CTE, career and technical education advocacy is so important in general, going off of what Alex said. But I think that specifically advocacy is so important because you really don't know how amazing and valuable career and technical education is until you're a part of it. And so sharing that with other people and sharing it with those people that especially like haven't had the same experience or haven't been a part of career and technical education or organizations, like it's so important to share that so that they can understand the importance of it, like to all of us as well. And I will popcorn it off to Ava Shapiro.
Thank you so much. So yeah, kind of building off of what both Alex and Sarah was saying, CTE and CTSOs really have the ability to change so many people's lives, but not if people don't know about them. And so kind of making sure people know what CTEs are, so that there's better support in schools, better support, parents know what they are, so parents can support CTEs, and then especially support in school districts with administration has been a huge one in Colorado recently. So really making sure that everyone who is there to support students is there to support CTEs, because inevitably that's supporting students. And then from there, I'll pass it on to Olivia.
Thank you, Eva. I think what everyone said so far has been so amazing. You guys are so right. And I think first and foremost, the reason why CTE, or in Georgia, we say CTAE, we include that agricultural part of it. The reason why it's so important, or advocacy for CTE is important, is because CTE itself is important. I did a little research beforehand, and I found that from a website that 76% of high schoolers are unsure of what career they're going to pursue. And so the main focus, this whole mission of why CTE even exists, is just to educate high schoolers and middle schoolers and just students in general about the career opportunities that exist and to get them career ready before they even step into that career. You're getting specific education for things from any of the CTE programs that you guys have at your schools and all across America that you're not getting in math class or science class. That's why CTE exists. And so it's so important in educating students about the career opportunities that exist. And so that's why advocating and making other people aware about CTE education is important. Go ahead, Nuha.
Yeah, Olivia, just adding on to what you said, I think CTE is so important because not only are you able to grow and connect with other people who also believe in CTE and who are passionate about it, but I know personally, I've been involved with DECA for 2 years, and I've been able to have some amazing experiences and learn so much that I probably wouldn't have had if I hadn't joined CTE and haven't taken these classes. And I'm just so grateful because I get to meet people such as all of you. And I think it's just an amazing program that we can continue to advocate for.
So I'm going to add another question into the mix. I know a lot of you guys, and what I like to say is that all DECA students are overachievers. There's not one of us that is just in one field of interest or just doing one things. We are students who take advanced courses that are in multiple different extracurriculars. And with that being said, is anyone else here a part of another CTSO? You guys can I don't know, wave your hands if you are. Some of you, great. So if you guys want to share a little bit more about the other CTSOs that you're a part of, that'd be great. I'll go ahead and get started because I'm also a part of HOSA. I'm a chapter officer at my school. And this is kind of introducing the next question, which we'll get into in a second. But we do talk a lot about things to advocate for CTSOs and CTE in general. And one of those is collaborating with other CTSOs around you. And as DECA students, I know for sure, Alex, you were at that conference where you got to see a bunch of other emerging leaders and other CTSOs, even though if you were a part of that one or not. But regardless, things that seem different to us, it doesn't matter because every single CTSO advocates for that education aspect that prepares students to be career ready. So I've always found that part really interesting, that sometimes there is a little bit of competition between them, but at the end of the day, we all have the same goal. So Rohan, you can go ahead and answer.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be a part of FBLA, and something that I realized is CTSOs, they have their own specialty. And something that my advisor actually talks about a lot is that it's a big enough sandbox for enough sand for every CTSO. And I really believe that because every single CTSO has their own area of specialties. That's really where a student and a member can really explore their passions. So I think it's completely okay for everyone to be in multiple CTSOs because you really get to learn a lot about what you want to do and what your interests are. And there are a lot of overlaps with DECA and other CTSOs, so I feel like it's only right for other people to join them too. Does anyone else want to go? I can popcorn it off to someone random too. I'll popcorn it to Olivia.
Similar to Rohan, I was involved in a CTSO before DECA. I was very much involved in the FFA. That was like my big thing. I talk about that all the time. But I like how Rohan said that, they all kind of have their own thing, but at the end of the day, they are pretty similar. I take a lot of my leadership foundation from FFA because that's where I started. And I can draw a lot of similarities between the core values between FFA and DECA and all the CTSOs that exist. And I think that's why at all these CTSO advocacy days that I know every state has, where everyone goes up to their state capital and advocates on behalf of legislators and everything, that's why all the CTSOs are together doing that, because at the end of the day, our main one goal between all of us is to promote career technical education at the end of the day. And if anyone else wants to go ahead, please raise your hand so I can popcorn it to you. Go ahead, Nuha.
Yeah. I also think one of the beauties of having all of these CTSOs is that they're the same, they have the same goals, except they are a little different in the people that are there and the goals that they have. And I'm also a part of FBLA, and we recently had our competition, and I was excited to see the differences between DECA and FBLA, and it was kind of eye-opening for me because what values that we have in DECA are different from what you have in FBLA, are different from what you have in HOSA. And I think the beauty of it is that we have these same goals, but all of these organizations have different ways of reaching these goals. And that's one thing that I loved to see. Yeah, Sarah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not a part of any other CTSOs, but one thing kind of special about Alabama is that we have so many conferences. Like with all of the CTSOs combined. So we have like four conferences with all of the CTSOs in September. We have 3 in October, and then we have a like state officer leadership training like summit at the beginning of every term with all of the CTSO state officers. And I think the one thing that you can really take out of it by like meeting all of those people, because those are people that you end up like spending your entire year with, like we get to see them again. We all go to advocate at the Capitol every year together. Every February, we got to do that at the beginning of this month for career and technical education. And I think the one thing that you can see in common with everybody is how important their CTSO is to them and how much passion they have for it. And that's exactly why we go to advocate at the Capitol every February. It's exactly why we're all brought together, because even though our organizations may be different, we all have the same energy and passion for whatever we're doing.
Absolutely. And I think that's a perfect segue into our next prompt. So next up, if I can click on it, is how can members promote CTE education? A lot of members, especially those that aren't serving in a leadership capacity, aren't exactly sure about what they can do to promote CTE education and talk about why they love DECA so much. So what are some ways that people can reach out? And I already see some hands raised. So Sarah, if you want to go ahead and get started.
Okay, so one thing, like there's always some things in the state that go on for a lot of state officers, but especially just if you don't have that kind of opportunity, one of the biggest things, especially right now, is social media. We're all given such a huge platform to not only interact with one another, but speak about the things that are important to us. So just posting about whether it be DECA or FBLA or FCCLA or FFA or whatever it may be, posting about your organization, posting about why it's important, even if it is just in February, just to say, hey, career and technical education has changed my life and here's why, like making a video, like whatever it may be, using social media to your advantage, because everybody has access to that. And I will popcorn it off to Garrett.
One of the main things that stands out to me being a part of also Sarah's chapter is like talking to local lawmakers and like talking to actually school administration about the importance of not just CTE month to you, but to like your whole entire school and your whole entire chapter. So talking to lawmakers about like making CTE month an official month in your city or in your like county is very important. And now I'll popcorn it off to Rohan.
Yeah, I mean, similar to what Garrett and Sarah said, I think another aspect that any member can do is just really begin conversations with other people. I feel like when you're talking about like your passion for DECA or your passion for other CTSOs and you tell it to your friends, they get more interested. What is DECA? What are these CTSOs? I really think that can go a long way, because we always know strength in numbers is the best way to make change. I really think that's why all of us join together with our other CTSO leaders and we advocate together. And so I really think just having those strength in numbers and really just talking to new members or talking to new hopefuls that are really interested in it is the best way to get at least the conversation started. And then I'll popcorn it off to Shelby.
Yeah, just like what everybody said, we just went to the Capitol too, and one of our advisors said adults want to hear from students. They don't care about hearing from us and what we think about CTE and CTSOs. They want to hear from you. So just sharing your story, even if you aren't a state officer or a chapter officer, you can still share your story, whether that is social media, like Sarah said, or just talk to your teachers, to your friends, to your parents' friends, to whoever you can get to listen to you. Sharing your story and your experiences and how it's changed your life is ultimately going to make them realize that they should be a part of it in some aspect. And I'll pass it off to Ava.
Yeah, thank you. So I feel like everyone has said some really awesome things about, using social media, and, partnering with other CTSOs. One thing that I found effective is literally just talk about it. So, my passion for DECA, my passion for CTSOs is a lot of the time the only thing that I can talk about. And so just talking about DECA and how it's changed my life, and how I've seen it affect people around me has really been a huge way for me to implement like just advocation. Just talk about it with your teachers, talk about it with your friends. At my high school, I'm literally only known for DECA. That's what everyone knows me for, and I'm sure that many of you relate to that. And part of the reason is because we talk about it so much, and so that talking about it is what gets people to join. And I'll popcorn to Avishi.
Thank you. Really going off of what Rohan and Ava said, I think one of the biggest parts of being in a CTSO is all the different avenues it allows you to explore, the different things you can do. So really just talking about it, the different projects you're going into. Like I've heard about things at our chapter at Wakeland, stuff about mental health disorders, people looking into things such as cancer, all these different things you can explore through a CTSO are just really what raises interest and awareness about it. I'm going to pass it off to Alex.
Thank you so much. But honestly, I think that everyone has such a huge point, and I'm so glad that you all not only touched on those very big aspects of talking to legislative officials and going to the Capitol, but you talked on the important parts of speaking with literally anyone and everyone who will listen to you about our CTSOs that are a part of our lives, because that is where the most impact happens. And I love how Eva touched so much on the passion that you have for the organization, because it's so easy to have passion, but what we need to remember is to use that passion to take action. Because when we actually advocate for the organization, we show, hey, I care about this so much, and I think you should care about this too. That's when you make the most absolute impact. But word of mouth is huge. So I'm just really glad that you all touched on that. And I just appreciate you all for touching on that, because it's truly the small things that make the most impact. Word of mouth is absolutely huge.
And one of my favorite things to say is that CTE advocacy starts whenever you want it to. It's as simple as Eva said, talking to somebody or posting on social media or whatever that looks like. That first initial step is what starts it. There's no catalyst for change. There's no somebody's going to tell you to do it. It is all up to you to make that call to say, I want to talk about why CTSOs and CTE education matters to me. And today is a really, really, really great opportunity to talk about that, because I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting this many people to say that they were interested in joining, but we have people from all across the United States. There's Nevada, there's California, there's VA. I'm just choosing people that have their states next to their names. But I think that's always the most uplifting part, to see that advocacy and promoting all of those things happens everywhere, anywhere, and whenever you want it to. So that's a great way to talk about that. And we can move on to our last question, which is probably our favorite one. And it says, how has DECA impacted you? I've shared a few memories about some of my favorite moments throughout my DECA journey, and I could talk for hours upon hours about why I love DECA and how much it's impacted me. But today is spotlighting all of you guys about why you guys love DECA. So first up is Daniel.
Yeah, DECA, and I think this applies to everybody in this call, has probably been one of, if not the most fundamental difference in my high school career. Whenever I'm talking to students about my workshops or anything, I talk about how I started DECA. I didn't have some grand interest in business in middle school. I started taking a marketing class in freshman year, and it spiraled from hearing from my advisor. I was like, hey, what's this DECA thing? Went to a conference and it ballooned from there. And I've had so many different experiences, from running for state office to being able to talk with so many different members at state conferences and Power Trip and things like that. And honestly, it's a really great opportunity to see all the different journeys that students take across the United States. We have many great leaders here today, and there's a lot of great leaders in DECA. I would say that I've learned a lot, and I'm able to see so many diverse perspectives from, if you look at across this call, Colorado and Virginia, Texas, Nevada, Georgia. There's so many great people I've met throughout my journey, and I wouldn't trade that for anyone. Oh, popcorn, oops. And I'll popcorn to Shelby.
Yeah, like Daniel was saying, I mean, I think all of us, I never would have dreamed my freshman year that I would be where I am today, and it wouldn't have been but without DECA. I think once we all got sucked in, whether it was a district or regional conference or whatever the first thing we ever did was, we all stayed. We all got sucked in after that first time. So that's just really shown. I mean, once you're in, and then you become state officers or district officers or whatever that may be. So I would not be the person that I am without DECA. I was shy. I would not have been the leader I am today, and I'm sure a lot of you can say the same things. I'll popcorn it off to Liv.
Thank you, Shelby. I mean, first, I want to say, look at all the hands that are raised for this question. That says something about how DECA has impacted all of us. And that's something I love so much about your series, Sarah, where you just spotlight others and share how, DECA has impacted them, and bringing their voice to that stage, I think, is so important. And similar to what Eva said earlier about, you know, being referred to that person who's obsessed with DECA at your school, I know we can all relate to that. That's how I am, just because it's impacted me so much. And there's, you know, a huge long list of things I can give of the numerous skills that I've gained from DECA. I went from being so shy to not being able to present a project in front of my class, to being able to speak in front of thousands of people at my state conference. And how Shelby says, you know, it's crazy how you went from there to get to where you are now. And whatever that looks like for you, whether it's chapter office or state office or even something like executive office, you know, DECA, I think, has impacted all of us. And for me personally, I've just witnessed tremendous personal growth within myself. I've stepped outside of my comfort zone more than I ever thought that I would. And I'm so thankful for that. And that's why I think, especially this February, the CTE month, I'm so ready to share my story. As Shelby said earlier about sharing your story, how important that is to advocate. And that's the most unique and personal thing that you have that you can use to tell others. No one else has your DECA or CTSO story, no matter what you're involved in. No one else has that story, only you. No one else can share how DECA has impacted you, because that's so personal and that's so unique to you. And that's why I think it's so important to share that. So like I said, DECA has impacted me in a million ways. And I just encourage all you guys to share how DECA has impacted you as well. And I'll pass that on to Rohan.
Thank you, Olivia. Yes, I don't know where to begin because everyone said it beautifully. I think DECA has made a huge impact on me, not necessarily in terms of not only my leadership skills, but even professionally as well. Going to conferences such as the Emerging Leaders Summit or even Power Trip, I've learned how to present myself, how to carry myself, how do you interact with students. And I really think that's the most valuable aspect to DECA, is that it provides you an area to try out different things. It allows you to try new experiences. Like you can really just try anything, and DECA provides you a place to do that. And I really think that's what makes DECA so special. And what has really impacted me is because I'm able to experiment around and like see like maybe should I be this type of leader? Should I say it like this? Like things like that you never get anywhere else with besides if it's in DECA. And so I'm truly appreciative of that. And it's really made a huge impact on me. And just like Olivia said, like advocating for that and like advocating for your journey is truly what's really important. And yeah, so that's how DECA has impacted me. So I'm gonna pass it on to Avishi though.
Thank you. I really don't know what to say. So many of you guys did so many amazing things. But one of the biggest things that DECA has done, especially for me, is it's allowed me to explore these so many different things that I can do with my life through every single facet of, you could think about OR events or PM events, these events that allow you to explore real life business. And it's really allowed me to really take a look at my future and what I want to do in my life and see that there's so many things that I'm interested in. So that's just one of the biggest things you can get out of DECA, is that perspective on the future and what you really love. I'm going to pass it on to Miss Sarah Hancock.
So the first thing I want to say is I think it's so important to notice that like none of us would even be on this call if it weren't for DECA. And some of my best friends on the face of the earth are literally on this call right now. And I think just getting to meet all of you guys, like that I'm getting to sit here and talk to, is so huge. But just meeting all of the people. But what the story that I always like to tell is that when I joined, like even just like business my freshman year, I only joined for the trips. I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to go to New York. Like that's the only reason why I joined. It was the first full COVID year, and it was just like school was a mess in general. And my teacher tried to get me to join DECA, and I was like, absolutely not. You have lost your mind. Like I am not doing that. like I just had no interest in it because I didn't even know like how important it was. And she literally forced me to join anyway. And I like am so unbelievably thankful for it every day because it has completely changed who I am as a person, as a friend, as a leader, as a student, as a member. Like literally without DECA, none of us would be where we are today. But just it is just completely life changing, and it's just so it's invaluable to literally anything else. I'm gonna pass it off to Nuha.
Thank you, Sarah. Just adding on to a little more about what you said, I think the biggest thing that I have gotten from this organization so far is just the network of people that I've gotten to connect to. I'm able to speak with you all no matter where we are. We're not in the same place, but that doesn't matter because this organization has brought us all together, and I've met some amazing people, some people who are also share the same interests as myself, but also might have different interests. And I've just grown as a person, grown as a leader and a speaker, and I'm just so thankful for the effect that this organization has had on me, and then the effect that I'm able to have on other people, and to grow my passion and to have more passion and explain to others why I truly am interested in this organization. Because I remember when I first got introduced to this organization, I was like, I honestly thought it was like a theater organization where you would go up and pretend to be someone and like have that role. And now I see that that is not it at all. But I'm just so thankful for this experience and for putting myself out there. That's the biggest thing you can do, because you don't know where it's going to lead you. And I'm so grateful, because 2 years after, I'm still here and I'm still going strong. And just like all of you guys, I'm just grateful for this. Let's see. Devika, go ahead.
Thank you, Nuha. I completely agree with all of them. But I think I don't know. I think it was Liv who talked about personal growth and how much. Yes, I definitely agree with that one. For sure. So when I first joined DECA, it's a very similar experience. I was not someone who wanted to be a big public speaker. I was always in the back of the classroom, just not. No, it wasn't for me. But the thing that DECA did was that it was forcing me up to be on stage and talking to people, and not just that, but networking at conferences. It's helped me in other areas of my life as well, such as in scientific conferences. If I go to any kind of conference and want to present my research, DECA really helps me articulate my thoughts more. And so I can definitely see how that's helped me in that, and vice versa. And it just goes to so many different ways. It can help you with so many different areas of life. And on that note, DECA can it can benefit you no matter what career you choose to go into. And I know almost all of you guys know that I've talked about this so much that I'm not pursuing a career in business personally. I'm majoring in public policy and doing a pre-med track along with it. And so not majoring in business, thank you. It was definitely kind of like a weird thing joining DECA and not being a business person, but the thing is that DECA can help you regardless of what career you want to do, whether you go down the leadership track or competitive track. And I think above all, I want to emphasize the community, because meeting all of these people, all of you wonderful guys, and going to these conferences has revealed aspects of my personality I never even knew existed. And it just kept building on itself. So of course, ICDC was the first time that I was first exposed to so many different perspectives, people who celebrated my ambitions, that kind of companionship. And then going to a second conference and having an even bigger experience, meeting even more people, gaining new perspectives based off of what the conference is focused on, if it's more leadership oriented, competitive oriented. And it just keeps building on itself, and getting to constantly meet so many new people and develop connections that will definitely help you in your future. So it is a very multifaceted organization, and that's why DECA is just amazing. I'm speechless on that note. Oh, and I'll pass it on to Tanu.
Thank you, Devika. I'd say I completely resonate with a lot of you guys with public speaking, being comfortable in yourself. But for me personally, and I think you guys will resonate with this too, I think DECA, the biggest thing that it's done is enabled freedom. A lot of times that when you think about freedom, right, you think about having the right to choose something, but it's also more than that, because it's having the ability to choose something for yourself, for the people around you, right? And what DECA does, it creates opportunities for you to apply yourself into, and it opens up a whole world of possibilities. It lets you see a world that you can see yourself in. And if this didn't exist at all, I don't think I would be going into business. I wouldn't have applied to my dream college, which I got into now, and my entire life trajectory would be so completely different. And I know that's like the exact same to so many other people out there. And so yeah, I would definitely say that DECA really boils down to the freedom that it enables each individual in it. And I will popcorn it to Ava.
Thank you. And I just want to just point out, so many of you have really just pointed out how amazing DECA is. And the biggest thing that I feel like I've gotten from all of you is just how passionate every single one of us on this call are about DECA. Like, it's literally changed all of our lives. That's why we're here. For me, I feel like yes, DECA has absolutely broadened my view of the business world. It's broadened my view of public speaking and leadership, and it's helped me build so many tools. But on top of that, DECA is a community. And for me, I feel like, DECA geography, I can connect with literally everyone through DECA. If you're in high school, if you're, out of high school, there are people who come up to me and I was like, oh my gosh, I saw you on Instagram. Like, how are you with DECA? Or like one of my friends will reach out to me and say, hey, this girl's in DECA. She has a question about the state conference. So, and, even adults and, I was at a CTE advocation kind of thing the other night, and there was a gentleman who came up to me and who was on a board of like a medical like a nurse. He was like the head of nursing at Children's Hospital of Colorado, and he came up and he was like, oh my god, I competed in DECA, I did hospitality and tourism, and like just being able to compete or connect with so many people based on competition and leadership. It's an amazing community, and I feel like that's really what business is being able to reach out and connect with so many people depending on what you're passionate about. And I feel like DECA really gives students that ability. And I will popcorn to Alex.
Thank you, Miss Eva. I think the most powerful thing is seeing how all of us have the same ending to our story in a sense, because we all are here. We're all a part of DECA, maybe each of us, but what's so powerful about it is each of us got here differently. And I think my favorite ones are the ones where literally none of us had any intention of being in business, and it just happened that way. Those are the funniest ones. I remember my freshman year, I was the kid, you guys, that had to pull the teacher aside after class because I couldn't talk in front of people in my freshman year. That was not that long ago. That was only like not even 4 years ago, right? And I was that kid. I had to do that. And I wanted to get into the sports med program, and they bumped me to the business one because they had too many people and it filled up too fast. And then when you're a part of the business program, you have to be a part of DECA or FBLA, and I picked DECA because I heard there were more trips. It's just, you join things for the weirdest reasons. So when Sarah said she joined for the trips, I was thinking, oh, me too, me too. But it's just, if you would have told me that I would be where I was today from just randomly getting slated into a business program, I would laugh in your face. It's crazy, how things happen for a reason. Life works in mysterious ways. And I think that no matter how many times we can each put an emphasis on the community that we get just from being in DECA, it's seriously the most phenomenal part. And it's because the competitive events speak miles on our career interests and our college interests, but I think that the most prevalent factor to why we all love DECA is because of the people and because of the community that we all get to be in. And the impact that it's had on me, absolutely insurmountable. And I thank you all for that, because if it weren't for you all, I would not care about this as much as I do, because it's the people, it's the DECA members, the DECA association and chapter officers that make this so worthwhile. So I thank you guys for that too, because you've changed my life, seriously. But it's been the absolute best. But I will pass it off to our host, Miss Sarah.
That was about to get really confusing if you just said Sarah, I will say. But anyways, I will say the number one question that I get asked is my DECA why. And it's usually because, like, why did you join? But I always say, and I think this is pretty prevalent after hearing especially Alex and Sarah speak, it's more about why we stayed. It's always been about why we stayed. And for me, that's the biggest impact. And every single thing that I've ever mentioned, and the reason that I started Spotlights with Sarah was to talk about members' individual DECA journeys and why they got to stay, why they loved to get to the place that they are today, and all those different things have been the reason that I've decided that DECA was the place that I wanted to stay, and I wanted to continue advocacy, and I wanted to continue to make a difference on an organization that means so much to me. I've spent the last 20 minutes listening to you guys talk about how DECA has impacted you, and it has been my absolute pleasure to be able to hear you guys talk about your DECA journeys and why you love DECA. So for me, that is quite literally the most amazing part of this organization. Just hearing people's voices, their DECA journeys, and why they've decided to stay. Because for me, staying and seeing that this is something that I care about means more than if I joined because of a pizza party or because of trips or whatever that looks like. And I actually talked about this with Tony in our last episode of Spotlights with Sarah. And I said, at our district conference, one of the first things that I heard were these members that were first year members. There was their first conference ever. They didn't realize I was kind of hosting the conference, which is my favorite thing because I get to hear their genuine reactions. And they said, I love this. This is so fun. And that right there was the reason that I stayed, because members were able to say, this is why I love DECA, and I'm here to compete and grow and network with members. So I thank you guys so much for being a part of the reason that DECA is so amazing, and for staying, because that is quite literally the most amazing thing you can do for not just advocacy, but just for the organization in general. So if there's anything else that you guys would like to share, please do. But I do want to say, I have a little challenge for you guys. I know we talked about it a lot on this call, but it'll be a social media challenge. Use the hashtag SWS advocacy, and you're going to basically say, how has DECA impacted you, and or what are you planning to do this CTE month to advocate for DECA? I'm really excited to see this. And this is also a challenge for anybody watching this episode. It's just for everybody who wants to share a little bit more about their DECA journeys. And hopefully we can find a way to get you guys on these calls for a full-length episode for sure. But thank you guys so much for joining. It has been amazing speaking with you all. I do have a little, I made the slideshow cute, so I'm going to show it anyways. But here it is. So thank you guys so much for joining. I've had the best time talking to you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next episode for sure of Spotlights with Sarah, and continue to please advocate for DECA.